Boo! There you go. Kumara slips. Going to plant them. Never grown them before. I know you grow them on an angle, and you're going to make sure that there's a sort of a pan so they don't go too deep, otherwise they keep on going down, and you've got to make sure that the tops don't get away, otherwise all the sort of energy of the plant goes into that, not the kumara. So that's a space to watch. We all get dealt a certain hand in life, don't we? Some people get the most roughest hands in the world, and other people get like just seem to have the best genetics and best everything, and life is sweet, but you never really know what's going on with somebody. John Wayne said, life is hard, but when you're stupid, it's harder. And that's true. So if you do stupid things, like I've done in my life, and I've made some stupid decisions, stupid ideas, and done stupid things, and it definitely has made life harder than it could to be. But also I've had a lot of adventure, and I've pushed it pretty hard. Gone places a lot of people wouldn't have been stupid enough to go, so I've had some pretty close shaves with the Grim Reaper, but I've also seen things that not everyone's seen. I've had a pretty colourful life. But on the note of, you have to dealt the hand that you've been, play the hand that you've been dealt, is what I'm really trying to say. That there, you've got to play that to your best. And what I would say is, if you're sitting watching right now and you're in a wheelchair with, maybe you're quadriplegic, or maybe you're listening to me because you're blind, or maybe you're in a wheelchair and you're blind, and I know someone who's like that. In fact, I know someone who's deaf and blind in a wheelchair. He has got the use of his hands, but he can't hear and he can't see. So I know a guy that's got no arms. He lost them because he got electrocuted and they popped out of both his shoulders. I met him when I was in Pirmasens in Germany. I know lots of people that have been dealt pretty harsh hands. And it's easy sometimes to think, oh, why did I get dealt this hand? But there's always somebody who's been dealt a worse hand than you. Not that that diminishes the shit that you've been dealt to. Probably the worst hand you could get dealt to is to suffer abuse ongoing as a child, and particularly sexual abuse, I think, is probably the worst. But there's something that can be just as bad as that, and that's to have parents that are completely indifferent to you and just ignore you like you're not there, or not have parents at all. And those Romanian orphans that have come over to New Zealand, and I know this because I've got a nephew that's one, that have grown up in a cot with no love and not been held and just given drugs to keep quiet when they're crying all the time, that have grown up without anything, they actually almost die, and sometimes they do, without love. So to grow up without love, I think, is a pretty bad hand to be dealt. You could grow up with a deformity, or like a physical one, or even a mental one, but if you've had a lot of love, you're probably going to have a pretty good start to this life. So the thing is this: if you're someone that's listening to me now, and you have been dealt what you feel is a rough hand, and it could be anything at all. You might be missing your hands, or you might be missing your legs, or you might be missing both, or you might be blind, or you might be deaf, or it could be something that's on a psychological scale, where you're born with a mental condition like really bad bipolar, that you're just born that way, or really bad anxiety, or really high on the scale of autism, or high on the scale of being ADHD, that just makes life so difficult. That's the hand that you've been dealt. But I don't believe that it has to be all bad. I think sometimes we can take these harsh lessons that life throws at us, and we can take from them something and make them into something good, and turn them into a feature. So if you find yourself in a really, really rough situation, the first thing that you have to understand is you are not alone. There is somebody out there in the world, just like you, that's got the same thing going on. It might be slightly worse or slightly less, but there's something that's relatable. So there is a common connection. And one thing that all of us humans suffer from is we suffer from suffering. We all have human suffering, to some degree, less or greater. And in some strange, weird way, it's kind of what unites us. Because we can all agree on one thing, that there is hurt and pain in our lives when we lose somebody we love, when we lose something that we love, when we lose our dreams or our money, or worst of all, our children, if that happens, God forsake, or our partners, or our parents, our mother, or our father, or our sister, or our brother, or in the case of me, my nephew who drowned last year. We all suffer loss, and the biggest losses I've suffered have been people being taken prematurely through either suicide or accidental death or disease, and particularly the young people. And that's hard, but I'm not alone in that. So in my grieving, I can talk to other people and I can share that. So if you are in a place that you are struggling, if you're in a place where you're really thinking, man, no one is hurting like me, no one's feeling the pain or the guilt, maybe it's something you're really guilty you've done, or the shame is something you're so ashamed and no one's done anything that bad, or maybe it's you're feeling something like no one's feeling as desperate, or no one's feeling as alone as I'm feeling. Maybe you're just a person that's got nobody and you're completely isolated, and that, I imagine that's one of the worst things, loneliness, because the opposite to that is love, and love is healing. So if you're lonely, I think you could almost die. Or maybe you're feeling the emotion of anger all the time. You're just angry at the world, or angry at your upbringing, or angry at something that happened. You're filled with anger and you can't control it. You're not alone in your anger. There's someone out there who's got more anger than you. I don't necessarily think you have to connect up with someone who's more angry than you, or someone who's more lonely than you, or someone, because sometimes the old saying, misery likes company. I think sometimes it's better to meet up with someone who's a polar of you, and someone who's like bouncing off the walls, who's got heaps of friends, and you might find that becomes infectious and you become the same, possibly. It's really, really important to have groups of people that we can join up with, and it doesn't matter what sort of group it is. I go down to the wharf in Mapur some mornings to sit with a bunch of people who I don't know very well, and they don't follow the channel, or this channel or my other channel. They just know me as who I am, just a local in the village that used to play a bit of music, and that's all they really know. And we sit down, and I don't even talk much a lot of the time. Sometimes I do, a lot of the time I just listen. But the real thing that's going on is I'm in a group of people, and we're just sitting there vibing together, and it's a natural thing to do. And I think it's really good if you create a little group, if you don't have one, if you're someone who's lonely. I think it's really good to have a small group of people. And for you people out there that suffer things like depression or anxiety or ADHD, where it's difficult to be in a group, where you find it really hard, then maybe you start off small. Maybe you start off with someone else that's got the same condition as you, and say, hey, look, let's go for a walk. Let's do a man's walk once a week. You just start off with another bloke who you know also suffers depression, or might have something he's struggling with, and you just go for a walk. Because when you're walking, it's great. And then increase your group. Maybe you walk to a cafe once a week, and you just sit down and you have a coffee all together. It's a great idea to get you outside of yourself, because when you're with yourself, you've got this perception of what the world is and what's going on. And the world is neither a bad place or a good place. The world is the world that you choose to make it. There really is not much meaning around what's going on other than the meaning that you give it. And for you, it might be a spiritual meaning. It might be finding Jesus. It might be finding Buddha. It might be finding whatever your faith is. And there's so many faiths out there. It might be that just through knowing who God is for you. It might be not that. It might be just getting closer to learning about who you are yourself. Or maybe it's getting closer to your children, or your dad, or your mum, or even just your dog. Man, don't underestimate the power of loving a dog. Some of the best friends I've had have been dogs. They haven't shit on me. They've been loyal, and they've been loyal to the very end, and they've died being loyal for me to try and bring the meat home. So we all have to find out for what it is for us. But really also important is to find out what your quickening is. What is quickening? Quickening is the thing that wakes you up and makes you want to invite things into your life, make things happen. Quickening is the sap that runs through your tree. It's the thing that gets you out of bed in the morning and makes you go, yeah, I'm going to crank into this day. It's your passion. It's something that you've got that really is who you are. It might be that you're a person who's really empathetic, and you might trigger your quickening by helping people. Or it might be that you're a person that really loves food. And so cooking and growing food and gathering it and creating, that might be your quickening. Or you could be that you just love sport. I got a mate, and his quickening's always been rugby. Loves rugby, loves it, loves it, loves it. He still hasn't come right after the last game. He's still like, man, that TMO, that's just completely fucked rugby. I can never ever think about rugby the same again. I'm like, bro. And he said to me, don't say it. I said, I wasn't going to say anything. He said, don't say it. And I said, what do you think I was going to say? Don't say it's just a game. I said, I wasn't going to say that. He's like, because it's not just a game. No, it's much more. I was like, yeah, bro, It's much, much more. It's our culture. It's who we are. We're the All Blacks. We're the Kiwis. Yeah, now you're onto it, bro. Everybody's got their truth. I know people that couldn't give a stuff about rugby. I know people that couldn't give a stuff about cricket. To them, so it's what's important to you. You got to find out what it is. To my bro, rugby's everything. Rugby and pig hunting, and we agree on most things. So he's cool. So if you are in a place right now and you're going, the hand that I've been dealt is such a shit hand. Why has this happened to me? I want you to get straight out of that victim mentality right now. Get straight out of that. Instead of looking at what you don't have and what's been taken from you, or what is going to be taken from you, you have to look at the other way around. You've got to look at what you've still got. The people around you that still love you. The things that you have got. When I was due to have surgery 4 years ago to have a radical prostatectomy, one of my friends was also having the same procedure as me, the same major operation, and it can be very major for a lot of men. It was certainly major for me. For others, it's just a procedure. But for me, it was major because a lot of things went pretty wrong. Everything went wrong, actually. And so we were on this journey. There was actually 5 of us men that were on the same journey. And he just could not accept that he was going to be robbed of a sexual function, possibly, and could not accept that he'd be incontinent. And his girlfriend, who's also a very good friend of mine, she was like saying, hey man, you know, this is a life-saving operation. We get to have more time together, you and me. But he couldn't accept what was going on. And I was fearful. I didn't want to have it, but I also knew that my uncle had died of 59, and prostate cancer is very much hereditary. There's not a lot of actual science out to say it's food-based, although we do know that high dairy, you've got high chances of it, and a whole plant-based diet does reduce, although the doctors and the surgeons will tell you otherwise. But you only have to look at the stats on countries like that have low rates and what their diet is. So I don't know. The jury's not out on that one. There's not enough science on it. But either way, he couldn't accept it. And tragically, he punched his own ticket before the operation. He took his own life. And he could not play the hand he was dealt. He couldn't play it. He threw his hand in. When I have been in a dark, dingy room, smoking cigars with a bunch of mafia in Europe and also in Asia, gambling, playing mostly poker, one thing I've never ever done is I've never thrown my hand in, and I've been dealt some fucking shitty hands. And that's what you got to do sometimes. If you've got to bluff life. So if you've been dealt a really shitty hand, never ever throw it in. Doesn't matter how painful it is. Doesn't matter the loss that you're really, really suffering. You never throw your hand in, bro. Never. If you do that, if you throw your hand in, then you're out of the game. And once you're out of the game, there's no stepping back into it. And if you throw your hand in and you fail at the attempt of taking your life, then you've opened a door you can never close. And it's really hard to get back up again. And I know people that have done that. And it's one road you don't want to walk down. You know, the Golden Bridge, it's had over 2,000 people jump off it and take their life. And 11 survived. And every one of those 11 people said the same thing. They said the moment they jumped, they were filled with regret. From that very moment, they all said the same thing. They were filled with regret that they'd chosen the path to punch their own ticket. Isn't that profound? Because nobody ever wants to take their own life. All they ever want to do is they want to take away the hand they've been dealt and have a new one. But you don't get to do that. That's pretty profound. I've lost people I love through that, just that alone. And that's the other side of it too. If you are contemplating that on any part of you is listening to me right now, you contemplate that, I want you to stop just for a moment and go, yes, I've got pain, I'm going to have to endure it, but just stop for a moment and think about the people that you're going to really leave behind. Your mum, your dad, your bros, your sisters, the ones that really love you, your friends. You might go, oh, no one loves me, I'm alone, I'm bullshit. There's always somebody somewhere. Unless you're stuck on an island where there's nobody around, I guarantee there's someone right now that loves you that you're not even aware of it. And I guarantee someone is thinking about you. So we go through this life here, and we can kind of go through this life two ways. We can go through this life like thinking that we're the main character and everybody else is just actors playing a part to fulfill a role in our life. We can go through this life imagining that they're just all extras, all the people around us, and we just take from them what we want to fill our own selfish need of love and emotion and sex and touch and all those things that we need, and just use them. Or we can go through our life being completely aware that they, just like us, have all the same needs, and respect them and treat each person like you treat yourself. And you treat yourself like you treat a good friend, like you treat a best friend. Don't treat yourself badly. And I had a conversation with a guy down at the dairy the other day who was cursing at himself. He was trying to put his bike into the stand. It wouldn't go in. He was getting angry with it, and the wheel got stuck, and then he pulled it out, and the wheel came off because it wasn't fastened. And when the wheel came off, he pulled it out, and he was like, fuck, and he threw the bike down the ground, and people looked around. He was like having a real anger, and he got back up, and I went over to him, and I said, hey, bro, let me help you. Let me help you with this. And I said, bro, let me help you. I've got a bike. I know how frustrating this is. I get this, man. I said, you hold the forks, and I'll just slip this in here. And he's like holding it, and he just feel his anger. And he popped it back up, and I said, yeah, man, fuck, it's just like really, it's a bastard, eh? Like, but just imagine if this actually came off when you're going down that hill at the top of Ruby Bay, down the cliffs. Imagine if it came off there. It only came off in the stand, bro. You didn't get hurt, but if it came off going down there, it could kill you. And he's like, yeah, that'd be brutal, wouldn't it? I said, yeah, man, you'd lose your front teeth at least, then you'd probably break both your hands, and you might even die. So it's only come off the stand, so bro, it's not that bad. He's like, yeah, man, and he's like starting to calm down, and I was like, could see him fuming, and I could see my own anger in him too. I could see how I've been with things in the past, how I've got angry, and I straight away felt sorry for him, because I know when I've been angry, I've just been hurting. And I said, you okay, bro? And he looked at me and just said nothing. And I said, you right? He goes, yeah, man, I'm all right. And gave him a pat on the back. And when I pat him on the back, he just sat there for a moment. I actually felt him soak it up. He didn't go all stiff. I actually felt him soak up the care. And us men, we put off either alpha or beta rays. Unless one beta blockers, then you can't put them out because it stops it. But we actually put out this energy. And if you're putting out a good loved one to somebody, they actually feel it. So this guy here, I don't know what hand he was dealt, but he wasn't playing it as best as he could. And that's easy for all of us, and we all do. We all sometimes take our hand and we go, this is not fair. Why did I get dealt this hand? You know, why was I born like this? Or why did this happen to me? And that is definitely victim mentality. So you've got to turn around and take that victim part of yourself and kick that the fuck out the door. There's no place for it in your life. It serves you no good. It doesn't serve the people that you love any good. It serves nothing on this planet any good. It makes no sense. It's completely insane to keep on feeling sorry for yourself. And as soon as you do that, suddenly there's a whole different paradigm. And suddenly you're actually looking at this world completely different, with curiosity and the wonder of what you could do, what you could become, what you could make, how you could help people, how you could make your community a better place, how you could make your neighbour's life better, and the people you love, their life better, and you start becoming an asset to them, and even the things that you suffer with so much become insignificant. Because, to be honest, if I spent my whole time living inside my head and thinking about all the shitty things in my own life, I'd be fucking miserable. I'd be so fucking miserable. It would be horrible if I stopped and ponder the reality of my existence and the things that I've got that happened to me. If I really went over that and thought about it too much, but by making myself a service to other people and also following my dreams, following my quickening, following the sap that runs through my tree, and doing the things that I embrace, and also making it so they're sustainable, so they can actually put food on the table and put diesel on a truck. It's the smallest of things, like planting turmeric slips for the first time in my life, something new I've never done. Oh, I'm excited about it. Life is full of wonder. You might go, I just plants clay. Yeah, but I've never grown these before. I don't know what it's going to be like. And I love eating kumara. So go and do something new that you've never done before, and take that hand that you've been dealt in life and you play it to your best ability, and never throw your hand in. #1 rule. Just keep on playing that sucker. And who knows, if you've been playing a real bum hand, you might even be able to bluff it sometimes. I've been bluffing my whole life. That's a story in itself for another day, man. I've got some good stories about the things I've done with a lack of talent. I don't know if any of you ever remember the Crown Forklift story when I went to Te Puke. And I was 16, living in a J4 Austin van with my girlfriend at the time. And this guy, Tom, down number 3 road, he had this big warehouse. He was a Canadian guy, I think, from memory. And the kiwi fruit industry in Te Puke was just about to really explode, and he was getting all these people to go down there, and he needed somebody to drive this new Crown forklift. And my whole time in the packing shed was going to be just like packing kiwi fruit, and I just so wanted to drive that Crown forklift. But I had no idea about it whatsoever, no idea at all. And there's a big story to how I actually ended up getting that job at 16, when there was people around me that were older and way more experienced that should have got it, but how I played the hand I was got, and I called the bluff. But it's a story for another Bro Check video. Anyway, that's me today, guys. I'm going to go out now and plant my Kumara slips. Be blessed, go steady, and you play that hand you got to the best ability. See you later.